Nobody was ready for what the cameras caught that night. Fans are shocked as whispers turn into explosive footage of Kirk Frost unleashing a terrifying outburst at Rasheeda. Emotions ran high, tempers exploded, and what started as a heated argument spiraled into a moment that left everyone shaken and the family divided. The room was already tense before anyone raised their voice, a quiet kind of tension that creeps in when two people with too much history sit too close to each other. The cameras were rolling, lights low, and the air felt heavy as Kirk Frost paced back and forth, his jaw clenched, his hands restless. Rasheeda sat across from him, arms folded tight against her chest, her expression calm on the surface but her eyes telling a very different story. Fans are shocked because this was supposed to be a routine sit-down, a moment to clear the air, but instead it felt like a storm building second by second. You could almost hear the unspoken words screaming between them, years of unresolved pain hanging in the silence. Kirk stopped pacing and turned toward Rasheeda, his voice low at first, almost controlled, as if he was trying to keep himself together. He said he was tired of being painted as the villain, tired of feeling like no matter what he did it was never enough. Rasheeda didn't interrupt him, and that somehow made him angrier. She looked straight at him and finally said that she had been tired for a long time too, tired of excuses, tired of broken promises, tired of pretending everything was fine for the sake of the family. Emotions ran high as her words landed, and you could see Kirk's face change, the frustration giving way to something darker. He snapped back that she never acknowledged how much pressure he was under, how everyone expected him to be perfect while constantly reminding him of his mistakes. His voice started to rise, echoing off the walls, and the crew exchanged uneasy glances behind the cameras. Rasheeda shook her head slowly and said that pressure didn't give him the right to disrespect her or embarrass her, not privately and definitely not in front of the world. That was the moment fans would later point to as the spark, the exact second when the argument crossed a line from heated to explosive. Kirk stepped closer, invading her space, and the energy in the room shifted instantly. Rasheeda stood up, refusing to be intimidated, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. She told him to back up, her voice steady but firm, and for a brief second it looked like he might actually listen. Instead, he laughed bitterly and accused her of always playing the victim, of turning everyone against him. The accusation hit hard, and Rasheeda's composure cracked just enough for the cameras to catch the pain in her eyes. She fired back that she didn't need to turn anyone against him because his actions spoke louder than any story she could ever tell. That's when Kirk lost whatever control he had left. His hands flew up as he shouted, his words tumbling over each other in a furious rush. The sound of his voice filled the room, sharp and aggressive, and even though no one touched anyone, the intensity alone was enough to make the moment feel violent. Fans are shocked because seeing that side of him, raw and unfiltered, was something no one expected, not even those closest to the situation. A producer's voice could be heard faintly off camera, trying to calm things down, but Kirk waved them off, refusing to stop. He accused Rasheeda of caring more about public opinion than their marriage, of choosing image over loyalty. Rasheeda shot back that loyalty didn't mean silence, that she had protected him long enough and it had cost her peace. The family was left divided in that moment, even though they weren't physically present, because every word spoken carried the weight of everyone connected to them. As the argument escalated, Kirk brought up old wounds that should have stayed buried, referencing past betrayals and moments of humiliation that Rasheeda had tried to move past. Her voice broke as she reminded him that forgiveness didn't erase memory, and that healing wasn't linear. She said she stayed because she believed in family, because she believed people could change, but nights like this made her question everything. That admission seemed to catch Kirk off guard for a split second, his anger flickering into something that almost looked like regret. But the moment didn't last. Kirk shook his head and said he felt trapped, like no matter what he did, he would always be defined by his worst decisions. He slammed his hand against the table, the loud crack making everyone jump. The cameras zoomed in instinctively, capturing Rasheeda flinching before she could stop herself. Fans are shocked because that single sound spoke volumes, a physical manifestation of all the unresolved rage that had been simmering beneath the surface. Rasheeda took a deep breath, steadying herself, and told him that fear was exactly why things needed to change. She said she refused to live in constant emotional chaos, especially not for the sake of appearances. Kirk laughed again, but this time it sounded hollow, almost desperate. He accused her of threatening him with ultimatums, of using the situation to gain sympathy. She snapped back that she didn't want sympathy, she wanted respect, and she wasn't sure he even knew what that meant anymore. Outside the room, whispers spread quickly. Crew members texted producers, producers alerted executives, and word began to leak that something serious was unfolding. Friends and family who weren't there would later say they felt it in their gut, like a warning sign they couldn't ignore. Emotions ran high not just between Kirk and Rasheeda, but among everyone who knew them, because this wasn't just reality TV drama anymore, it felt personal, raw, and dangerously close to the truth. Kirk turned away, running his hands through his hair, breathing hard as if trying to calm himself. Rasheeda watched him, torn between concern and exhaustion. She said softly that she didn't recognize him when he got like this, that it scared her. Those words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. For a brief moment, the room went quiet, the kind of silence that feels louder than shouting. Even Kirk seemed to feel it, his shoulders sagging slightly as the weight of her fear sank in. But instead of apologizing, he lashed out again, accusing her of exaggerating, of making him look like a monster. He said he was just passionate, just frustrated, and that the cameras made everything look worse. Rasheeda replied that cameras didn't create emotions, they revealed them. That line would later go viral among fans, quoted again and again as proof that this moment was bigger than entertainment. The family was left divided not just by what happened, but by how to interpret it, by who to support, by what it all meant for the future. As the confrontation dragged on, Rasheeda mentioned the kids, her voice trembling as she talked about the example they were setting. She said she didn't want them growing up thinking this was normal, thinking love meant chaos and shouting. Kirk bristled at that, insisting he was a good father, that he would never hurt his family. Rasheeda nodded, saying she believed he loved them, but love without accountability wasn't enough. Fans are shocked because that conversation hit close to home for so many people watching, blurring the line between scripted drama and real-life struggle. The argument circled back on itself, accusations and defenses repeating like a broken record, each pass growing louder and more intense. Kirk accused Rasheeda of emotionally checking out, of building walls he couldn't climb. Rasheeda accused Kirk of refusing to do the work, of expecting forgiveness without change. Neither seemed willing to back down, and the cameras captured every painful second, every strained expression, every crack in their voices. At one point, Kirk stepped toward the door as if to leave, then turned back, unable to walk away. He said he felt like he was losing everything, that the pressure was crushing him. Rasheeda replied that she felt like she had already lost herself trying to hold everything together. That exchange marked a shift, a moment where anger gave way to vulnerability, even if only briefly. Emotions ran high as both of them stood there, exposed and hurting, unsure of how they had reached this breaking point. Just when it seemed like things might finally de-escalate, Kirk muttered something under his breath that made Rasheeda stiffen. She asked him to repeat it, her tone icy. He did, louder this time, and whatever fragile calm had formed shattered instantly. Rasheeda raised her voice again, telling him she wouldn't tolerate disrespect anymore, not from him or anyone else. Kirk responded by shouting over her, his words blurring together as his frustration spilled out unchecked. The tension became almost unbearable, and the crew stepped in more assertively, urging them to take a break. Kirk refused, saying he was tired of running from problems. Rasheeda countered that sometimes stepping back was the only way to keep things from getting worse. Fans are shocked because what happened next would change everything, pushing the conflict into a new, even more intense phase that no one could have predicted, and the story was far from over as the argument continued without pause, carrying all its unresolved anger straight into what came next. The argument didn't slow down after the crew tried to intervene, it only grew heavier, like a pressure cooker with the lid rattling but never lifting. Kirk's chest rose and fell fast as he stared at Rasheeda, his eyes burning with a mix of anger and disbelief. Rasheeda crossed her arms again, a protective instinct kicking in as she braced herself for whatever he was about to say next. Fans are shocked because the energy in that room felt like it could tip over at any second, and everyone watching later could feel it too. Kirk finally spoke, his voice rough, accusing Rasheeda of pushing him to the edge on purpose. He said she knew exactly which buttons to press, exactly how to make him feel small and cornered. Rasheeda shook her head slowly, her voice quieter now but no less powerful, saying she wasn't responsible for his reactions. She told him she could express her pain without being blamed for his rage. That word hung there, rage, unspoken but understood, and it seemed to strike a nerve. He snapped back that she loved labeling him, boxing him in with words that made him look dangerous. Rasheeda replied that labels didn't come out of nowhere, they were earned through repeated behavior. Emotions ran high as Kirk clenched his fists at his sides, trying to hold himself together while clearly failing. The cameras zoomed in again, catching the tension in his jaw, the way his eyes darted around the room as if searching for an escape that wasn't there. Outside the room, producers debated whether to shut everything down. Some argued this was raw reality, others worried it had gone too far. Meanwhile, messages started lighting up phones as rumors spread among friends and family. People wanted to know what was happening, whether Rasheeda was okay, whether Kirk had crossed a line. The family was left divided before they even saw the footage, forced to take sides based on instinct and loyalty rather than facts. Back inside, Rasheeda took a step back and sat down, signaling she was done yelling. Kirk interpreted it as dismissal, as if she was checking out again. He accused her of shutting him down whenever things got uncomfortable. She replied that she was protecting her peace, something she hadn't done enough of in the past. Fans are shocked because that shift, her choosing calm over chaos, only seemed to enrage him more. Kirk paced again, muttering under his breath, replaying old arguments like a greatest hits of resentment. He brought up times he felt unsupported, moments when he believed Rasheeda chose her career or public image over him. Rasheeda listened, tears welling but refusing to fall, and said she had always supported him, even when it cost her dignity. She reminded him of nights she defended him when everyone else was calling her foolish for staying. That hit a nerve. Kirk stopped pacing and stared at her, accusing her of throwing sacrifices in his face. He said love wasn't supposed to be a transaction, that he never asked her to stay. Rasheeda shot back that she stayed because she believed in him, and hearing him dismiss that hurt more than any argument. Emotions ran high as her voice cracked, and for the first time, Kirk seemed genuinely shaken. He softened briefly, saying he felt misunderstood, like a failure no matter what he did. Rasheeda reached for empathy, telling him she understood feeling trapped by expectations. But just as quickly as the connection formed, it collapsed. Kirk twisted her words, accusing her of pitying him. His tone sharpened again, and the warmth vanished from the room. The argument took another turn when Kirk brought up trust, questioning whether Rasheeda was truly honest with him. The implication alone was enough to reignite everything. Rasheeda's eyes widened, and she demanded to know what he was suggesting. Kirk hesitated, then accused her of emotionally distancing herself, of keeping secrets. Fans are shocked because that accusation flipped the narrative, shifting the spotlight onto Rasheeda in a way no one expected. Rasheeda stood up again, furious now, telling him not to project his guilt onto her. She said she had been transparent, sometimes painfully so, and she refused to be blamed for his insecurities. Kirk shouted back that he knew when something felt off, that he wasn't stupid. The volume of his voice filled the room, making the walls seem to close in. The intensity felt violent even without a single touch, and that's what unsettled everyone the most. A producer stepped in again, more firmly this time, asking Kirk to lower his voice. Kirk snapped at them, saying this was his life, not a script. Rasheeda seized on that, saying exactly, this was their real life, and that was why it mattered how he behaved. Fans are shocked because that moment stripped away the illusion of performance, revealing two people unraveling under the weight of years of unresolved conflict. Kirk rubbed his face, clearly overwhelmed, and for a moment it looked like he might break down. He admitted he was scared of losing his family, scared of being alone. Rasheeda's expression softened, and she said fear didn't excuse hurting the people you loved. She told him she needed to see real change, not promises made in the heat of the moment. The mention of change sparked another argument. Kirk accused her of constantly moving the goalposts, of never being satisfied. Rasheeda replied that growth wasn't a one-time thing, it was ongoing. Emotions ran high as they went back and forth, neither fully listening, both desperate to be heard. The crew remained on edge, unsure whether to step in or let it play out. Meanwhile, fans watching later would say this was the moment they felt torn. Some sympathized with Kirk's obvious emotional struggle, while others felt Rasheeda's pain more deeply. The family was left divided not just by loyalty, but by interpretation, by personal experiences that colored how they saw the argument. Kirk suddenly brought up the past again, mentioning moments Rasheeda had forgiven him for, moments he believed should have been left behind. Rasheeda replied that forgiveness didn't erase impact, and that those moments still lived with her. She said every time he raised his voice like this, it reopened old wounds she was trying desperately to heal. That statement seemed to flip a switch. Kirk's voice dropped dangerously low as he said he was tired of being punished forever. Rasheeda answered that accountability wasn't punishment, it was responsibility. Fans are shocked because that exchange felt like a crossroads, a clear sign that something had to give or everything would fall apart. The argument stretched on, looping and escalating, until exhaustion began to creep in. Both of them looked drained, voices hoarse, emotions raw. Kirk leaned against the wall, staring at the floor, while Rasheeda wiped her eyes, frustrated with herself for letting things reach this point again. The silence that followed was thick, heavy with everything that had been said and everything still left unsaid. But just as it seemed like the storm might finally pass, Kirk looked up and said something that reignited the fire completely. His words were sharp, accusatory, and they cut deep enough to make Rasheeda gasp. She responded instantly, anger surging back, and the argument roared to life once more, carrying all its unresolved tension straight forward as nothing was settled, nothing was healed, and the confrontation continued without pause into what came next. The words Kirk threw out hung in the air like shattered glass, and for a moment Rasheeda looked stunned, as if she couldn't believe he had gone there. Then her shock hardened into anger, a deep, simmering fury that made her straighten her posture and lift her chin. She told him that line was off limits, that dragging that particular issue into the argument was cruel and unnecessary. Fans are shocked because even without hearing every word clearly, the emotion on her face told the whole story. Kirk didn't back down. Instead, he doubled down, insisting that everything was connected, that he was tired of pretending certain things didn't affect him. His voice rose again, sharp and relentless, and Rasheeda raised her voice right back, refusing to be drowned out. Emotions ran high as they talked over each other, words colliding, meanings getting lost in the chaos. The room felt smaller somehow, like the walls were closing in with every accusation. Rasheeda accused Kirk of weaponizing her pain whenever he felt cornered. She said he knew exactly what to say to hurt her the most, and that realization broke something inside her. Kirk fired back that she always claimed the moral high ground, acting like she was the only one who had suffered. The bitterness in his tone made it clear he felt unseen, unheard, and dangerously resentful. A producer tried to step between them, asking them both to take a breath, but Kirk brushed past, pointing at Rasheeda as he spoke. Rasheeda recoiled slightly, not because he touched her, but because the energy of his movement felt threatening. Fans are shocked because that brief physical shift, that step forward, was enough to make the situation feel violent, even without direct contact. It was the kind of moment that makes your stomach drop, the kind that lingers long after the scene ends. Rasheeda told him to stop pointing at her, her voice shaking with anger and fear. Kirk scoffed, accusing her of being dramatic. She snapped back that she had every right to feel unsafe when he got like this. That word, unsafe, sent a ripple through the room. The crew froze, and Kirk's expression shifted from anger to disbelief, then back to rage. He asked how she could say that, how she could paint him as someone who would hurt her. Rasheeda replied that she wasn't saying he would, she was saying the way he acted made her feel afraid. Fans are shocked because that distinction mattered, and yet it didn't seem to register with him. Instead of hearing her fear, he heard an accusation, and he reacted defensively. Kirk slammed his palm against the wall this time, the sound echoing loudly. Rasheeda flinched again, instinctively stepping back. Emotions ran high as the crew moved closer, clearly ready to intervene physically if needed. Kirk shouted that he would never lay a hand on her, that she knew that. Rasheeda replied through clenched teeth that fear wasn't just about hands, it was about tone, words, and unpredictable anger. Outside the room, word was spreading fast. Phones buzzed non-stop as snippets of information leaked. Some family members expressed concern, others insisted Kirk was just emotional and misunderstood. The family was left divided in real time, forced to choose between protecting reputations and protecting people. Fans watching later would say this was the moment the situation felt truly serious, like something had shifted permanently. Kirk began pacing again, faster this time, his movements erratic. He said he felt attacked from all sides, that everyone expected him to be the villain because it was easier than acknowledging his pain. Rasheeda countered that acknowledging his pain didn't mean excusing his behavior. She told him she needed him to listen instead of react, to hear her instead of defending himself. For a brief moment, Kirk stopped. He looked at her, breathing heavily, and asked what she wanted from him. Rasheeda answered without hesitation that she wanted accountability, consistency, and respect. Fans are shocked because her clarity contrasted sharply with his confusion, highlighting just how far apart they were emotionally. Kirk laughed bitterly, saying it was never enough, that no matter what he did she would always want more. Rasheeda replied that wanting peace wasn't asking too much. Emotions ran high as her voice cracked again, tears finally spilling over. She wiped them away angrily, frustrated with herself for crying in front of him, in front of the cameras. Seeing her cry seemed to unsettle Kirk. His voice softened, and he said he never wanted to hurt her like this. Rasheeda looked at him skeptically, asking then why he kept doing it. That question hung unanswered, heavy and painful. The silence that followed felt almost sacred, a rare pause in the storm. But it didn't last. Kirk's defensiveness crept back in as he said he felt provoked, pushed beyond his limits. Rasheeda snapped that everyone had limits, but adults were responsible for how they handled them. Fans are shocked because that line resonated deeply, sparking heated debates online about accountability and emotional control. The argument shifted again when Kirk accused Rasheeda of planning her exit, of mentally checking out of the marriage already. Rasheeda didn't deny that she had thought about leaving. Instead, she admitted it openly, saying she had to consider her own well-being. That admission sent shockwaves through the room. Kirk stared at her, stunned, as if the ground had just disappeared beneath his feet. He asked if she was threatening him. Rasheeda replied calmly that she was being honest. Emotions ran high as Kirk's shock turned into anger, then desperation. He said she was giving up too easily, that marriage meant fighting through hard times. Rasheeda answered that she had been fighting for years, often alone. That exchange marked another turning point. Kirk's voice broke as he accused her of abandoning him when he needed her most. Rasheeda shot back that she had stayed through moments that nearly broke her. The pain on both sides was undeniable, raw and exposed for everyone to see. The crew finally insisted on a break, stepping in firmly this time. Kirk resisted at first, but Rasheeda agreed, saying she needed space. As she moved toward the door, Kirk called after her, saying she couldn't just walk away. Rasheeda turned back and said sometimes walking away was the only way to stop things from getting worse. Fans are shocked because that moment, her choosing distance over confrontation, felt powerful. Kirk watched her go, his anger mixing with fear and regret. The room felt emptier without her, the energy shifting from explosive to hollow. But even with Rasheeda gone, the tension didn't disappear. Kirk continued pacing, venting to producers, insisting he was misunderstood. He said he felt set up, like everything he said would be twisted against him. Emotions ran high as he oscillated between anger and vulnerability, unsure which version of himself to present. Rasheeda, meanwhile, stood in a hallway outside the room, leaning against the wall, trying to steady her breathing. A crew member asked if she was okay, and she nodded, though her shaking hands told a different story. She admitted quietly that she didn't know how much longer she could do this. Fans are shocked because seeing her so composed on screen rarely hinted at how close she was to breaking. Messages from friends and family continued to pour in. Some urged her to stand her ground, others encouraged reconciliation. The family was left divided once again, each opinion pulling her in a different direction. Rasheeda closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. Back in the room, Kirk finally sat down, his energy drained. He buried his face in his hands, whispering that he didn't want to lose his family. That vulnerability contrasted sharply with his earlier rage, making the situation even more complicated. Fans are shocked because it became clear that beneath the anger was fear, but fear that had already caused real damage. After several minutes, producers asked if he was ready to talk calmly. Kirk nodded, though his expression suggested uncertainty. The decision was made to bring Rasheeda back in, cautiously, with clear boundaries. As she re-entered the room, the tension spiked again, but this time it was quieter, more fragile. They sat across from each other once more, exhaustion etched on both faces. Kirk spoke first, saying he felt out of control earlier. Rasheeda listened, guarded but attentive. Emotions ran high as he admitted he needed help managing his anger. Rasheeda said acknowledging that was a start, but it didn't erase what had happened. The conversation took on a more subdued tone, but the wounds were still fresh. Every word felt like it could reopen them. Fans are shocked because this calmer phase only highlighted how severe the earlier outburst had been. Nothing was resolved, nothing fully healed. As they talked, it became clear that trust had been deeply shaken. Rasheeda said she needed time, space, and consistent action to feel safe again. Kirk agreed verbally, but uncertainty lingered in his eyes. The family was left divided not just by sides, but by fear of what might happen next. The cameras kept rolling as the conversation slowed, heavy with unspoken doubts. Both of them knew this wasn't the end, just a pause. The unresolved tension lingered in the air, carrying everything forward as the situation remained fragile, uncertain, and far from over, setting the stage for what would come next without any clear resolution in sight. The pause between them felt uneasy, like thin ice stretched over deep water. Kirk shifted in his seat, rubbing his hands together as if trying to warm himself after being exposed to something too cold. Rasheeda sat upright, her back straight, her face calm but distant, the kind of calm that comes from emotional exhaustion rather than peace. Fans are shocked because even in this quieter moment, the tension was thick enough to cut through, and everyone could sense that one wrong word could set everything off again. Kirk started talking slowly, choosing his words more carefully now. He said he didn't recognize himself when he lost his temper like that it scared him too. Rasheeda listened without interrupting, but her eyes never left his face, as if she was searching for sincerity. Emotions ran high even in silence, because every pause carried the weight of what had already happened. She finally spoke, telling him that fear didn't disappear just because his tone changed. She said trust was fragile, and moments like earlier didn't just fade away once voices lowered. Kirk nodded, admitting he understood that in theory, but struggling to accept it emotionally. He said he felt like he was being judged for his worst moment, like that outburst would define him forever. Rasheeda replied that actions had consequences, especially when they crossed emotional boundaries. She reminded him that she had defended him countless times, even when fans were shocked and critics were ruthless. The family was left divided, she said, because people saw different versions of him depending on when they looked. Kirk bristled slightly at that, but didn't interrupt. He asked her what she wanted to do next, not just in that room, but in their lives. The question hung heavy, because it wasn't just about the argument anymore, it was about their future. Rasheeda took a long breath before answering, saying she didn't know yet. She said she needed time to process, to feel safe again, to decide what was best for her and the kids. That uncertainty clearly rattled Kirk. He leaned forward, his voice trembling as he said he didn't want space to turn into distance, or distance to turn into an ending. Rasheeda looked away briefly, then back at him, telling him she couldn't make promises she wasn't sure she could keep. Fans are shocked because that honesty felt brutal, but necessary. The conversation drifted into their shared history, memories of better times surfacing alongside painful reminders of betrayal and disappointment. Kirk talked about how proud he once felt of their partnership, how he believed they were stronger together. Rasheeda countered that strength didn't mean enduring everything silently, that resilience without boundaries became self-destruction. Emotions ran high as Kirk admitted he felt like he was constantly trying to make up for the past, never quite catching up. Rasheeda replied that healing wasn't a race, and that skipping steps only led to moments like earlier. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed how deeply the situation affected her. Outside the room, more people were becoming aware of the gravity of what had happened. Phone calls were made, plans discussed, damage control considered. Some worried about public perception, others about private safety. The family was left divided once again, torn between protecting Kirk and supporting Rasheeda. Back inside, Kirk asked if she thought counseling could help. Rasheeda said it might, but only if he was truly willing to confront his anger, not just manage his image. That word image seemed to sting. Kirk insisted this wasn't about how he looked, but about how he felt. Rasheeda replied that feelings mattered, but so did patterns. The discussion grew more introspective, less explosive but no less intense. Kirk spoke about feeling overwhelmed by expectations, by the constant scrutiny of cameras and fans. Rasheeda acknowledged that pressure, but reminded him that she lived under it too, often while cleaning up messes she didn't create. Fans are shocked because the imbalance became painfully clear in that exchange. Kirk's voice cracked as he said he felt alone, even when surrounded by people. Rasheeda responded that she had felt alone while sitting right beside him for years. That mirrored pain hung between them, reflecting how disconnected they had become despite their shared life. At one point, Kirk reached out as if to touch her hand, then hesitated and pulled back. That small gesture spoke volumes. Rasheeda noticed and said quietly that trust needed to be rebuilt slowly, through consistent actions, not grand gestures. Emotions ran high because even hope felt fragile, like it could crumble under the weight of another mistake. The producers checked in again, asking if they wanted to continue or wrap for the day. Rasheeda said she was emotionally drained. Kirk agreed, though he looked reluctant, like he feared what silence might bring. As they stood up, there was an awkward distance between them, physical and emotional. Before leaving, Kirk turned to her and apologized, not just for the argument, but for making her feel unsafe. The word caught in his throat, but he said it. Rasheeda acknowledged the apology, saying it mattered, but it wasn't a reset button. Fans are shocked because that moment felt real, imperfect, and unresolved. They exited the room separately. In the hallway, Rasheeda paused, wiping her face and taking a deep breath before facing anyone else. Kirk lingered behind, speaking quietly with a producer, his shoulders slumped. The contrast between his earlier rage and current defeat was striking. Later that night, reactions began pouring in from friends and close family who had heard bits and pieces. Some expressed concern for Rasheeda's emotional well-being, others urged Kirk to seek help immediately. The family was left divided in their advice, reflecting the complexity of the situation. Rasheeda returned home, surrounded by a familiar space that suddenly felt different. She sat alone, replaying the argument in her mind, every raised voice and sharp word echoing. Emotions ran high as she questioned how much more she could endure, how much of herself she had already given up. Kirk, on the other hand, spent the night restless, unable to sleep. He paced his own space, haunted by the memory of her flinch, the look in her eyes when she said she felt unsafe. Fans are shocked because that single moment seemed to haunt him more than any accusation ever had. Messages from fans began surfacing online, divided just like the family. Some defended Kirk, calling it a heated argument taken out of context. Others stood firmly with Rasheeda, saying no amount of stress justified that kind of outburst. The debate grew louder, mirroring the conflict itself. As days passed, the tension didn't fade. Conversations between Kirk and Rasheeda became brief and cautious. Every interaction felt loaded, like both were walking on eggshells. Emotions ran high even in mundane moments, because nothing felt normal anymore. Rasheeda confided in a close friend, admitting she felt torn between loyalty and self-preservation. She said she still loved Kirk, but love wasn't enough if fear and chaos kept creeping in. The family was left divided even in private conversations, as opinions clashed and advice conflicted. Kirk began taking small steps, scheduling appointments, reaching out for guidance. Whether it was genuine change or fear of loss remained unclear. Rasheeda noticed the efforts but stayed guarded, unwilling to be swept up by promises again. The air between them remained heavy with uncertainty. Neither knew what the future held, only that something fundamental had shifted. Fans are shocked because what started as an argument had become a turning point, forcing both of them to confront uncomfortable truths. And even as things seemed calmer on the surface, the unresolved tension lingered underneath, waiting, shaping every decision, every look, every silence, carrying the weight of what had happened forward into whatever came next, because nothing had truly been settled yet and the story was far from over. After witnessing all this intense drama, one question remains unanswered: can this relationship truly recover, or has the damage gone too far? Emotions ran high, fans are shocked, and the family was left divided, but the story is far from over. Now it's your turn. What do you think really happened behind closed doors, and who do you believe deserves accountability? If this story kept you hooked, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts below, because your opinion matters and the conversation doesn't end here.